My intention is to make this a very laissez-faire affair, but I want it to be meaty as well. We're going to go through some of my fragrances in my collection. As I talk about my collecting ways, I'm also going to highlight some content creators that I love to watch and I am happily influenced by them. I'm going to also timestamp this video. So why just a part of my collection and not all of it? I'm currently going through my collection, wearing my fragrances, attempting to finish up some bottles and mindfully decluttering. I have decided that I really want my collection to be very cyclical. This is not a numbers game for me. I want bottles in, I want bottles out. I want to stay learning. I want to keep my nose on toes, and I don't want to forget things at the back of my collection. The fragrances I'm going to show you are on my shelf for a reason. I like some of them, I love some of them. Some of them have a question mark, some of them have a comma, some of them have a full stop. I'm going to explain what all that means as we go through the video. I also recently watched Gaby's collection, the Fragrantian. I'm going to make sure to link her collection down below. Absolutely beautiful. If you like playful, sexy, grown woman, edgy, very feminine, her collection is worth checking out. I'm choosing to be inspired by Gaby, and I am going to categorize my fragrances as we go through them. I'm going to do celebrity, designer, somewhere in between, and niche. Let's start with celebrity. I have the list in this category. First up is Gloria Vanderbilt. This is a very pretty girly scent. It has a very dominant tuberose note. That's what I really get out of it. It does have an ambery base with sandalwood, cinnamon, and musk. It's an easy wear if you like tuberose. I know tuberose can be a little bit of a polarizing note, but this is quite easy on the nose. Very affordable as well. How did this enter my life? Let me spray it in the air. I also get the aldehydes. The aldehydes are there. They make it quite bright. This entered my life because I first found a vintage formulation of this at the boot sale. A granny was selling some fragrance. Yes. And I thought, oh, let me get the new formulation since it's rather affordable. I will say both of them are quite similar. The vintage formulation is a little bit heady, a little bit more tuberose. The civet stands out just a little bit more in the vintage formulation, but I find them to be very similar. This is a pretty girl fragrance, as they like to say on the internet. Easy to wear, not offensive, not even worth looking for, but here we are. My plan is to eventually finish up that bottle. I don't see myself repurchasing it, and my vintage formulation is somewhere in my backup collection. Next is Covered by Sarah Jessica Parker. This is absolutely fantastic for a celebrity scent, as in it doesn't smell like your stereotypical celebrity scent. They tend to be a little bit sweet, a little bit juvenile. This is very interesting. It has a chocolate note and a lavender note that makes it really stand out, and a really prominent musk note as well. I absolutely love this fragrance. I need to repurchase it. As you can see, I did try to finish it up, but it's not a matter of I must finish a bottle up. If I'm ready to move on, I'm ready to move on. But this one is definitely a repurchase for me. A little bit plasticky, but in a nice way. There's a powderiness to it as well. Works beautifully in between weather, when it's just like the crack of spring and when we're just about to enter winter. It doesn't want it to be too cold or too hot to wear this. A very interesting scent. Love, love, love. I know it has a flanker, the purple bottle. Is it Pure Bloom? Something like that. I must try it. I really do want to try that. But this is definitely worth checking out. It is so interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Next with me is Passion from Elizabeth Taylor. I absolutely love this fragrance. Very grown woman floral. It is very much so of its time. It's a fragrance from the 80s. But let me tell you this, in between weather, the honey shines, the floral shine, you get the aldehydes. When you wear this in the cold, you get the heavier notes, you get the spices, you get the civets. But in between weather, she just lightens up a bit and just, this is good. This I enjoyed it so much this spring. I don't know how I didn't finish up the bottle, but I was drenching myself left, right, and center. Such a good fragrance. This is so me. This scent profile is classic IJ. Love this fragrance. I definitely see myself repurchasing it. I also want to try Passion for Men. It's not a random walk situation for me, but this is a definite repurchase. You've got to like your big scents, you've got to like your powerhouses. Fabulous. Let's move to niche. I've got quite a bit from Theodoros Kalotinis. One of my faves, Paola, has done an overview video of the brand. I will make sure to link it down below. She knows the house very well, and I feel like she has all the bottles. If I'm not wrong, I feel like she has every bottle from the house. I will make sure to link those videos down below in the description box as well. Let's start with the one that I like out of these three that I have with me. Royal Orchid is very signature scent worthy. That's what I think every time I smell this fragrance. Very pretty, bright, tart, fruity floral. Easy to wear, could be worn in so many situations, church, work, date night, works beautifully throughout the year. It's something that I really like, I don't love, but what makes me hold on to it is the cranberry note in this. It makes it very tart and I find that very enjoyable. But this is a fragrance that I will finish up and I don't see myself repurchasing it, but it is very likable. I see many girls really enjoying that. Next up is Sea God. Now this is something that I bought for my husband and he didn't particularly fall in love with it. So I put it into my collection and I too am not in love with it. It's your stereotypical male fragrance. It's got sea notes and cedar in it. It's not offensive, but it's not groundbreaking. It's something that I wore last summer and I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. And why am I holding on to it? Only the heavens know. I'm holding on to it because it's niche, let's be honest. It's not bad, it's not offensive. It's a kind of scent, if I smelt it on a man, because when I smelled this on my husband, it came across very sweet. His body chemistry really plays up notes and makes them sweet. I just thought, my baby's a little bit too grown for that fragrance. You know, that's what I thought. Young man friendly, if anything, young man friendly. It does smell stereotypically masculine, whatever that means when it comes to fragrance. I don't think it will survive the next declutter. Let's just say that. I don't think it will survive the next declutter. Now, Ijeoma salt and citrus, I like a little bit more than Sea God, and it's a salt note for me. There's also grapefruit in this scent, so it's just a citrusy, salty situation. Once again, very stereotypically male, whatever that means, but I wanted a little bit more citrus, a little bit more tang. I wanted a little bit more salt, but I did enjoy wearing this. Yeah, I did enjoy wearing this earlier this summer. A little bit fizzy, fresh on the skin. It does make you feel like you're cooling down. Summer has been quite warm this year. It's not bad. It's not bad. I see it as a scent that many men would enjoy, even women. There is something very unisex about this. Very office friendly for the summer, of course. Garden parties, you're going out for a day out in London, you're just going out for a mooch, you know, you want to throw something easy on the body. You don't want to overthink things. Aegean salt is not bad. Another one that I wouldn't repurchase, but this will survive many declutters. I see myself finishing this one up. Next up is Lumper from Honoré Payan. This is a stunner. It works all year round, a little bit better in the cold, but this is a very spicy, heady, plays slightly animalic on my skin, kind of floral. Very, very beautiful. Yes, and there's like a dryness to it, and it's not too sweet. Sometimes when it comes to spicy florals, I worry about sweetness, being overtaken by sweetness. This does not overtake me at all. And I feel like because the only sweet smelling thing in this is amber, I feel like if there was vanilla or tonka in the base, this would have made it a little bit too sweet for my pleasure, but this hits the notes for me. Saffron and cloves, really making it spicy, really making it heady. This is a house that I need to explore a little bit more. As I make room in my collection, I definitely need to get into this house. Very affordable French house. They have quite a lot within them. They have candles. I feel like they also have a bit of body care. They have quite a few fragrances. Worth exploring. Worth exploring. Let's move on to the somewhere in between. These brands are not what I would consider designer, because what I'm calling designer is a brand that creates clothing as well. These brands don't do that, but they also have something else going on within the brand. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's do the Avon ones first. I've got 3 Avons with me. Let's start with something that's a little bit nostalgic. Far Away is a classic. It's an undeniable Avon classic. This is a fragrance that reminds me of my university days. This is a fragrance I wore when I was in uni, and I wore quite a lot of it, and everybody loved it on me. Anytime I wore it, I got compliments. I went through several bottles. It's a nostalgia thing for me. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a sweet floral, and because of my memory association with it, it's a youthful floral for me. Yeah, you know, sweet, coconut, vanilla, a bit of florals in there. You know, you just smell like a nice girl. You know, a girl who's always got a smile on her face. And when she's around, the sun is a little bit brighter. That's what Far Away tells me. Because I was that girl in uni, I always had a smile on my face. You know, I'm always still smiling, but you know what I mean. You know, when you're young, you just have so much hope for the world and for the future. Far Away is inoffensive. It's easy to wear. It will always be in my collection, even though I don't wear it that much. In the spate of 4 years, I've only finished 1 bottle, and this randomly came into my collection because a fragrance lover was decluttering and put it in that declutter for me. I'm not mad. I even have some in my backup collection. It's just a memory thing. You know, I'll always have it. I don't rush to finish a bottle, but it just takes me there. Now moving on to Timeless by Avon. This is a vintage formulation. I have a qualm about this fragrance. Now Avon has just discontinued Timeless without telling anybody. Rude. And Timeless is one of my favorite fragrances ever. It's beautiful. It's some of the best £5 I used to spend. Now I can find Timeless online on eBay, and it's going now for like £20, £30. I know it's not much and I'm being dramatic, but I used to pay £5. With that being said, I know I'm going to eventually buy a bottle because I genuinely love this fragrance. What it reminds me of is being outside on a warm day. You can smell the grass being cut, and you can smell the sweet sweat, you know, of the person cutting that grass. And you're just somewhere in the background lingering. That's what Timeless gives me. And I regret not having it in my backup collection. I thought I would always have it. I feel disrespected. My problem was I thought it would always be there. You know, when something is so available and so cheap, you always assume you will get it and then it disappears. Timeless to me is stunning. It's a beautiful fragrance. For what it was almost free. The performance was absolutely stellar. Very aldehydic, a floral with green nuances, and there's some fruity notes, and there's iris as well. A stunning fragrance. Unfortunately, I missed the mark and I should have bought quite a few bottles, but I will buy some from eBay when I feel like it. Very conflicted. Before I move on, I will say the vintage formulation is not wearing well. The current formulation is better than this. This is a little bit more animalic, and I don't know why, because there are no animalic notes in this. It could be also that this is just going off, even though I don't think it's going off. This is what Timeless smells like to me, but the current formulation is a little bit better than this. In fact, much better than this. If anything, don't go hunting for the vintage formulations. Just buy the new one, you know, the one in the long bottle. I'll put a picture up on the screen. Get that one. That is beautiful. Iced tea. Now we have Musk Air, which was a very random purchase. I bought this because of the name, Musk Air. I wanted something very clean, very open, very fresh, very easy to wear in the summer. Throw in the bag and you're out the door, or just wearing it in the house, you know, after a shower. You just want to feel super duper fresh. But it's not doing what I needed to do. I think it was wrongly named. They should have called this something else, because it is a bit of a warm, spicy fragrance. Nothing to do with that Musk and Air. Yeah, it's sweet, stereotypically male, easy to wear. Why am I holding on to this? Because it's easy to wear and I can finish it up. Will it survive another declutter? I do not think so. It's a really simple note breakdown. There's ginger and I think sandalwood in this, and I guess that's what makes it sweet. And there's also a floral note in this as well. The name and the fragrance, they don't match each other. I wanted something more. This is nothing special. Let's move on to something that is truly a warm, spicy fragrance, and that is the classic Taboo from Dana. This is classic of its time. It's a big bomb, a spicy floral with an animalic base. I bought this because quite a lot of the vintage girlies on YouTube say that this reminds them of like a cherry cola, and I thought that sounds interesting. And I do get that cherry cola vibe, but to me it's not as sweet as I would have thought a cherry cola would smell. I get the spices, I get the coriander. There are some citrus notes in this, but they don't really stand out to me. It has that classic base of musk, civet, sandalwood, amber. It's a classic. It is worth exploring if you haven't smelt it. Very grown woman. Very, very grown woman, I must add that. There is something very stockings and leather jackets about this fragrance. Smells beautiful in the cold weather as well. A memory has just come up. The first time I wore this, we were going to the boot sale with my husband, and it was very early in the morning, a little bit chilly.
And I kept smelling, I was like, who is that beautiful? Who's wearing that? Who's following me around smelling that good?
It was me. It was Taboo. Very grown, very sexy. Is it vintagey? Is it dated? Not in my opinion, I don't think so. But you've got to like that scent profile to rock with that. You've got to be a vintage girly to like that. Speaking of boot sales, this is something that I found at the boot sales. This is Sea Tendra by Remy Latour. This is a beautiful, beautiful floral that performs absolutely beautifully in the winter. There is something a bit restricting for me with having to rely on spicy, heady fragrances in the winter. I just need a break. You know, a lot of my fragrances are heady fragrances, and sometimes I just want something that's light and open and fresh. And because we live in Britain, it's always cold. This is just a gift sent by the perfume gods. Now it is a stop-up bottle, so I have to pour this into a decant to smell it, a decant with a spray bottle. I'll just, whoop. Yeah, very easygoing, very easy to wear, very pretty. It has some green nuances as well. A light, sweet, fresh floral. That's very inoffensive, very classic and elegant. What it truly reminds me of is Beauty by Elizabeth Arden. If you haven't tried Beauty by Elizabeth Arden and you like florals, what are you doing? That has got to be one of the most well done fragrances that I know of. The bottle, the name, the way it plays on the skin, the sillage, it's not over the top, it's not under the radar, it's just right, it's elegant, it's easy to wear, it is appropriate for so many situations, the price is right, it is ageless, it is timeless. Listen, I know we're talking about Sit and Raw, but now we're talking about Beauty by Elizabeth Arden. I have a bottle in my backup collection. I would buy another bottle, but it's not that deep. But yet again, Timeless from Avon has shown us it's that deep. Love Beauty by Elizabeth Arden. Me and my classics. I have quite a few here. Where shall we go? Let's go to something that's really rocks my boat just as much as Beauty. This is what I would consider my signature fragrance. Even though the concept is a little bit redundant for me because I'll always have a big collection, but this fragrance for me ticks so many boxes. If I was going to a desert island, this is a fragrance I would pack. This one and a few others, but this one, I would not have to think about it. Kobako is a stunning white floral that is so elegant, so timeless, so easy to wear, fits so many situations. This is that word that people like to use that has become slightly problematic, and this is old money. Okay, this is old money. This is gorgeous Chanel flat pumps, pencil skirt, cashmere sweater, pearl necklace, and that's what she wears going everywhere, from the supermarket to work. That's what Kobako is for me. Every time I wear this fragrance, the joy. In fact, it deserves to go on skin. It reminds me of being in a garden on a cold, crisp morning. The sun is bright, you can feel the warmth of the sun, but it's cold and you can smell the flowers and you can smell you, and you smell really good that day. And somehow you picked a fragrance that is working with the garden. It just does the thing for me. I love this fragrance. Now, many people have compared this to Chanel No. 5. I have smelled Chanel No. 5 and I don't think they're comparable. I would call them cousins. And now that I've mentioned Chanel, I recently discovered a wonderful human being called Jacob. Oh, his fragrance content is chef's kiss. If you love the House of Chanel and you don't watch Jacob, I don't know for you. I don't know for you, because Jacob is so intelligent, so well spoken, so well versed on the House of Chanel and other houses, on just fragrance. He is such a delightful slept on resource. I love his content. I'm going to make sure to link him down below. If I ever want to explore Chanel as a house I'm not yet called to, my first place to go to will be Jacob. His taste in fragrance, exquisite. Let's go to a classic that more people would know as opposed to Kobako. This is Samsara by Guerlain. I am very lucky to have this red bottle. Time to put in my plug. If you're in the UK and you don't shop from Direct Cosmetics for your fragrance, I don't know for you. It is a quality plug. They randomly show up with bottles that are discontinued, and that's how I got this. I got this for like 15 pounds. Let me tell you, I should have bought more. This is one of my biggest fragrance regrets. I should have bought more of these bottles. But it's not that serious because I don't think I love Samsara. I like it, but it's not a love for me. One of the reasons I bought it is because this is a fragrance I remember as a child. My mother did have this fragrance. 90s babies will remember a lot of our mommies wore Samsara, and I see why they did. You know, it's the ylang-ylang, it's the powderiness. There was something I can imagine for the time, Samsara being very modern but still reminiscent of what they wore in the 80s. Like, I can see how Passion, which is an 80s fragrance, I can see how...
I don't have anything else that would tie to this. It's not on this table.
Anyway, I can see how the fragrances of the 80s inspired Samsara. There's that spiciness, that heady floral is there, but at the time it must have been modern to not have something so animalic or so heavy. It was a bit lighter, a bit brighter, a bit fresher. Because there are citruses at the top of Samsara, but the base has been minimalized. It has all the classic notes. There's sandalwood, there's vanilla, there's musk, but there's no civet. You know, there's no ambergris. There's no animalic notes to now take it to that 80s realm. I see why they liked it. It's not a love for me. I'm glad to have it in my collection for the culture. It's not a fragrance I'm going to quickly finish. But yeah, that's Samsara. Let's round up the classics. I've got 2 more to get through. Next up, we have Yardley English Rose. Why didn't anybody tell me about this? This has got to be one of the easiest, most prettiest roses you could ever buy. It is watery, it is pretty, it is not really sweet, it's not a sweet jammy rose. It has green nuances, smells watery. Have I said that already? I'm sure I have. Gorge. Gorge, gorge, gorge. Yes, very easy to wear. Something youthful about it, something signature scent worthy about it. This is the kind of fragrance, if you bought it forever, nobody will be offended. Yeah, very easy to wear, very pretty. Splash onto the body. In fact, let's do that just to freshen up self. It is a little bit warm today. She's a pretty girl. An easy to wear rose fragrance, not too sweet. Love that green note, those watery nuances, very nice. Now next up is Tweed by Lenric. I know I've got dredges in the big bottle. I'll eventually put this tiny bottle into there and finish it up. As I said, I'm not forcing myself to finish up any bottles, but this is a very dated type of fragrance. I stumbled across this in the charity shop, so I was like, yeah, whatever, it's £2. Very dated, very vintagey, classic notes of the time. There's lavender in this, there's bergamot, there's jasmine, there's orange blossom, there's oak moss and sandalwood as well. Classic of its time. I don't hate it, I don't love it. You know, it's in my collection, you know. And when it comes to fragrances like that, they're a bit hard to declutter to somebody because you've got to like a certain scent profile, and most people don't like vintage like me. I'll finish it up. Next up is good old Elizabeth Arden. This is After 5 Fifth Avenue. This is a beautiful white floral, and it's been done in the way IJ likes it. It's a little bit dry, it's not sweet, slightly leathery. Just what this reminds me of is tight ponytail, slick back, everything slick back. She always has her pair of stockings on. She's a little bit serious. The only fun thing she does is wear red. That's the only fun thing she does. She don't want to push the boat too much. You know, nails always done. She gives me high-powered secretary vibes. That's what this fragrance does for me. For me, I really get the coriander in this. There's also birch in this, and I feel like that's what gives it that dry note that I'm talking about. Let me just give myself a bit of a spray. I also remember this being really nice mask wise. Clean, put together, non-negotiable type of girl. I love After 5. This is my second bottle and I have one in my backup collection. Very easy to wear. It feels like the kind of fragrance I could wear to a very serious meeting. The kind of fragrance I would wear when I'm going somewhere with my mom and I don't want to embarrass her. I don't want to embarrass her. I want to smell good and clean and fresh. That's what After 5 does for me. A really classy floral. Really classy floral. This is Baby by Taos. I feel like baby fragrances do belong in fragrance collections simply because there's nothing as beautiful, as quote-unquote innocent about how a baby smells. And if a fragrance house is brave enough to try and capture that, I don't see why we should not experience it. And this does that rather well. Clean, watery scent. It does have quite a few notes, but I don't feel they really translate like that. It doesn't smell like a busy fragrance. The neroli does stand out. It's very watery. There's also musk in this, of course, and petitgrain. I don't really get the petitgrain because I tend to associate that with a pepperiness, a citrus pepperiness, and this doesn't come across like that. It's not a complex baby fragrance. I have better ones in my collection, but I'm just gonna hang on to it because I just like that fresh, clean vibe it gives me. I like to wear it right out of the shower. This is the kind of fragrance I like to just wear around the house. Inoffensive, clean, fresh, you know, keep it moving. Let's start with my darling Le Enfant from Kenzo. This is a gorgeous fragrance. Oh my god. If you like something sweet, spicy, somewhat complex, there's a little bit of a tropical note in this as well. Very nice, very nice. In fact, why I love it so much, it reminds me of a very milky chai. And when I say chai, I don't mean the one you get at Starbucks. I mean the one culturally made very well. I'm half Kenyan, so back home we drink chai. And our chai is very milky, very sweet, very spicy. That's what this reminds me of. I immediately go to my childhood when I used to drink them things and drink a lot of them. I did. I love my tea. And then there's a mango note, just adding a little bit of some there. It's another fragrance I need to repurchase. Thankfully, I have the 100 ml. Really lovely. Works well all year round as well. It smells slightly different in the winter and the summer, but really good. Next up is Cabochard by Grey. I do have the vintage formulation, but the formulation in my hand is the modern formulation. This is another floral that I really like because it's not sweet. It's somewhat serious. In fact, it really reminds me of Fifth Avenue. That serious, clean, soapy kind of floral. But Cabochard is a little bit different. It has this animalic vibe to it, and I think it's the leather and the tobacco and the oak moss in the base. I prefer the vintage formulation to this one. In fact, I think the vintage formulation is completely different from my scent memory. But yeah, I prefer the vintage formulation over this. I don't see myself repurchasing this, but I will gladly wear it and finish it up. Next up is First from Van Cleef & Arpels. I had to pour it into another bottle because the bottle I had, the spray mechanism failed on me, so I had to do the switch. But this is a beautiful classic floral, a little bit soapy, very aldehydic. I believe I have a vintage formulation. I need to get a new formulation and see if they're similar. But this is very classy. Oh my days. Oh my days. In fact, it really reminds me of Kobako. Let's spray them close to each other and see. First is a little bit sweeter, a little bit more soapier. They're both similar, somewhat like cousins, but first is its own creature. I definitely need to try the new formulation and see if it's something I need to pursue, whether it's getting another vintage formulation, or getting just the new one and buying a few bottles, because I really like it. You know, sometimes I think every girl who has a big collection should have that really classy floral that's a little bit sweet, a little bit animalic, a little bit powdery. It just works for so many situations. It's good to have a fragrance like this in your wardrobe. We're finally at the end. The last 3 fragrances I have are all from Asian Provocateur. Of course, I have the classic. This is a house that I really love. In fact, I love this house for the sake of nostalgia. This was my first grown woman fragrance. You know that fragrance you put on because you're finally clocked? I'm sexy. They want me. And that's okay. I'm gonna make them want me a little bit more. That's what this fragrance was for me. My first bottle was when I was 18, 19. I've gone through quite a few in my little life, and every time I hold the bottle, I'm taken back to that very sexy, very confident 18-year-old who was figuring things out. You know, she was stepping in her own. It is true what they say, it is a polarizing rose scent. You either love it or you hate it. There is something a bit harsh, a bit cold about this fragrance, but I find it to be very sensual. I find it to be very feminine. Back to what I described about my 18-year-old self. Even though I was really stepping into my sexiness, I had my boundaries up. You are not gonna mess around with me. Just because you think you're cute and you've told me I'm cute, that doesn't guarantee you access. So this fragrance allowed me to really embody that energy.
It was like, I know I'm nice, so what?
God, I was a sassy 18-year-old. Beautiful fragrance. A lot of rose. There is vetiver in this. There's also saffron. There's, I believe, an incense note in this, if I'm not wrong. Beautiful fragrance. I will always buy it. I will always have it in my collection. I know I have backups right now. I always have backups. I've gone through many bottles. If you like rose fragrances that are a little bit different, a little bit edgy. Next up is Maitresse. I bought Maitresse a few years into my love affair with the original, and this is another one that I love from the house. I have gone through several bottles. I always have backups. The bottle that I have with me is the gold edition. They all smell the same. This was just a limited edition bottle. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. For me, it's AP truly grew up. You know, the original became a grown woman. She became a little bit more comfortable in herself. She allowed herself to be a little bit more softer. She didn't have her guard up too much because the boundaries, they were rooted. They were rooted. You couldn't deny them. That's what Maitresse does for me. It just gives me nyummy mommy. One day she is in a flowy skirt, sneakers, jean jacket. Next day, tight skirt, stockings, high heels. She just switched on you, and she does it comfortably. That's what Maitresse does for me. Love this fragrance. It also sprays in a gold sheen, so you have to be careful with this one. It might stain, but nothing too bad. Just be mindful. First spray it on your skin so that you can, you know, have a judge of the matter. But this is a very sexy, sexy floral. It has powdery notes. It has a gorgeous suede note. So the leather is there, but in a very soft and furry way. Behaves beautifully all year round. Maybe a little bit too much for summer, but who cares? Maitresse, she's that girl for me. She's me right now. She's me right now. Yeah, I'm entering that phase. 30s, 40s. Because I love Maitresse so much, I had to get the flanker. It only made sense. And I like what they did here. They didn't make something that smells like Maitresse. They really turned it on its head. In fact, they gave Maitresse a baby sister, if that makes sense. It's very bright, it's very open. There's an apple note in this that's rather pleasant. It's tart and really reminds you of a crunchy apple. A little bit sweet, a little bit musky, quite a few florals. I believe there's rose and iris in this. Very pretty thing, easy to wear. As I said, the small sister of Maitresse, it was done really well. It doesn't smell like Maitresse, but they smell like they belong together. Does that make sense? In fact, now that we're here, let's layer them. Let's layer and see if life will change. Let's start with Maitresse. Ooh! Oh, that's brought up pretty fizzy, crunchy, tart opening to all of that. That is interesting. I must give that a wear test. And that's that, my darlings. I am sure you have noticed I am slowly losing light. The day is ending and it is time for me to end this video. This is where I am so far in my fragrance wearing and sorting out my collection. As I continue to do so, I feel like I'm going to be able to do this again. Maybe at the end of the year, we can come back and see what we have put on the shelf. And I'm thinking of also doing empties at the end of the year. I am going to keep aside fragrances that I finish. Down in the description box, I am going to fill it up with as much information as I can. All the content creators that I have mentioned, I am going to tag them. I am also going to just drop a few bits of how I shop and etc. Things that I think people will ask. But if anything, just talk to me down in the comments. I will answer what I can. And with that, I want to thank you so much for being here with me. My name is Ijeoma, and I'll see you soon.